The president's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, who repeatedly said he'd never do it, is in fact now fully cooperating with the special counsel's office. The deal announced this morning in court, where Manafort stood before the judge and admitted guilt to 2 charges: conspiracy against the United States and obstruction of justice for witness tampering. He remains in jail for now until sentencing. The cooperation agreement with the special counsel's office coming just days before his second trial was set to get underway.
Hello, I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
And this is NewsRap Live at 5. All right, another pin drops.
Yeah, it's like bowling, huh?
It's like bowling, yeah.
Somebody just picked up a spare.
I guess. I don't know. So what do you think? Big? Just a big thing, a small thing, a medium thing? What do we got?
I think, Barry, whenever you get a guy who's saying, I won't sing, I won't sing, I won't sing, and suddenly he becomes one of the Temptations, it's a big thing. But that's what going to jail does to you.
Yeah, sure. Do you think he's got something to tell?
If they want to talk to him, he's got something to tell. And if he agreed to talk, he better have something to tell. Otherwise, it's a bad situation.
No, I agree.
So, were you surprised by this, or what did you think when you initially heard the news?
Not surprised at all.
I always knew he would talk.
Yeah.
And Roger Stone's now going around saying that he'll never talk, and guess what? You're going to talk too once they throw you in the joint. And you see those brothers looking at you, you're going to have a whole lot to go talk to Mueller about all of a sudden. Because I would too, and so would you.
Look, I'm 69 years old, right?
Okay.
I think Stone is around the same age. Manafort's around the same age, right? And if I'm looking to die in prison, I'm going to just, sing like Ariana Grande. That's what I'm going to do.
If I'm looking at spending 1 hour in prison, then I'm going to tell everything I know to everybody. These people were fools getting mixed up in this to begin with.
Yeah.
And they're even dumber if they think that the law is not about to come out and touch them. Now, they probably have some hope because they're going, oh, look, this dude over here got 14 days. But we're not talking about conspiracy against the United States. We're not talking about witness tampering. There's something that Mueller wants to know, and he seems determined to find out. So my question for you is this.
Okay.
Who does this impact the most? Who has the most to lose out of Manafort cooperating with Mueller?
Besides Roger Stone?
Besides Roger Stone.
Easy. Easy. Donald Trump Jr.
Okay. Explain. I like the way you did that, too.
Okay. Well, it's the kid. I mean, we know that he is responsible for setting up the Trump Tower meeting. Mm-hmm. We know why he wanted to set up the Trump Tower meeting. It was to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. And he knew from that email that was sent to him by the Agaraloff or whatever the heck his name was, right? We know that he was told he was going to get information from someone who was conveying it from a high-level Russian agency.
Right.
That we know.
Right. Because she says in the email, I am an attorney for the Russian government.
Exactly. Well, she doesn't. He does.
Well, he does. I'm sorry.
Agalarov. He says it, right? So the fact that he sets up that meeting with that understanding.
They knew who they were dealing with.
They knew exactly who they were dealing with. And, as you've said before, as I've said before, they walked into the bank, they had their guns drawn, and the fact that there was no money there
doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
Nope.
They have committed the crime.
Right.
And that is a crime. And I think the real issue here is, did they even know that it was a crime? But then ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Well, it doesn't matter what they knew then, like you just pointed out. But the other point is, once they found out, what did they do? Trump Jr. continuously lied about it.
That's right.
And at that point, he knew it was a crime. And at that point, he knew it was being investigated. And he continuously lied about it, just like his old man has done.
So now the big question.
Okay.
Would he have done it would he have set up that meeting without his daddy's permission?
No.
So, a couple of things are possible. Either there was a meeting before the meeting where some people got in a room, maybe including Manafort, maybe including Michael Cohen, we don't know. And by the way, we now know from Vanity Fair today as well that Michael Cohen, now they're confirming, has been talking to Mueller.
Okay.
So even though it was a state charge, it was a state issue, he's talking to Mueller. So, was there a meeting that happened before the Trump Tower meeting at which Trump Jr. might have said something like, Daddy wants to know?
Yes.
Daddy wants this information.
Even if they did it by email, even if they did it by a group text, at some point that was conveyed.
Well, we haven't seen any email that conveyed it.
He's not.
So who has that email? Is it Manafort?
Probably. I just don't see Trump Jr. bright enough.
Or is it Cohen? And he might also.
I don't see Trump Jr. bright enough to get that email that he got and then respond, yes, I'm very, very interested, and not run off to his dad and go, guess what I just got.
Exactly.
So, and tell his brother and his sister and everybody in the world that he was connected to, and that was there.
Right.
I don't think this was just a, hey, we're about to have a meeting. Jared, come on in. Hey, Paul, come on in.
So
much more coordinated.
Now we get to a Shakespearean moment. As an actor, I can talk about these things. We get to a Shakespearean moment.
Does Daddy say
the Shakespearean moment is, I would go the other way. Does the son take the hit for the father? And even if it's a minor crime, maybe only, let's say, 14 months, 15 months, does Donald Jr. spend 15 months in jail to protect his daddy?
Well, he's going to pardon his kid. I mean, I would hope he has that much character.
That's true.
To save his kid.
That's true.
I mean, literally, if I got my daughter mixed up in this, the moment I knew Mueller was looking at Lauren, I would resign. I'd get out of it.
What does Congress do the minute he pardons his kid?
What does this Congress do? Or maybe the House that'll be there when he
Well, that's another story,
pardons
too.
his kid. So if we look at how things will probably be, at that point they will have no choice but to go forward and start to seriously consider the I word, which is impeachment. Because, and I'm going to tell you why, before you respond.
Okay.
There's strong evidence that Donald Trump lied before the Senate already.
Yes.
So we have to come back to that point when we get here. Has he perjured himself in front of the Senate, which, according to what they did to Bill Clinton, is a crime? So that's A. B, the president said he did not write the statement after his kid was caught up in this.
And that was a lie.
And that was a lie.
But he lied to the press, and lying to the press is not a crime.
Well, we don't know if he only lied to the press. If his son repeated his lie, then we kind of have them working in coordination. And if others repeated that lie, we have to then consider, is there a conspiracy going on, which could lead to the president's impeachment? So I'll answer, if we get to that point, yes, the Democrats in the House will be forced to take action.
Well, I want to leave you with a thought before we move to something else. But I want to leave all of you with a thought. And by the way, our phones are out, but you can definitely comment, and we want you to comment on Facebook. And I've got my trusty iPad up here, and we will be happy to engage in your comments and have a conversation, because the show is always better when you get involved with the conversation. So although we're not giving you a phone number, it doesn't mean that we're just up here talking to each other. We're talking to you, and we want you to get involved. So let's start to see those comments pop on Facebook.
And that's the Pasadena Media page?
And that is on the Pasadena Media page.
All right.
On Facebook, yes. And actually, we do have
got a couple of comments?
Some comments here. I went, see, I was on the wrong page. I had to click something, and I did, and
now he's figured out fire right in front of you.
Watching. Let's see. Oh my gosh, we've got some wonderful people watching us. Say something. Talk to us. What are your thoughts? So far, we're watching.
Okay.
So that's scary.
And in the
like
meantime?
people watching but not saying anything. Say something.
And in the meantime?
Yeah.
We got something real cool for you to check it out. Why don't you introduce
Oh,
us?
yeah. Well, we've made this now a regular part of the show because there's so much news during the week and it gets buried by one or two stories.
We can't do it in 30 minutes.
And we can't. And so we've created something in case you miss stories this week. Of course, some of these you will not have missed, like Hurricane Florence. But in case you've missed stories, we have something called NewsRapper's Delight, and we're going to run it right now.
Check it out.
Hurricane Florence made landfall on Thursday afternoon and is expected to push a storm surge of up to 16 feet. Mandatory evacuations were ordered and news agencies are reporting several people needing to be rescued from the rising waters in North Carolina. Yet the story has often centered around President Trump, who critics say mishandled relief efforts in Puerto Rico after two devastating hurricanes ravaged the island in 2017. The island has still not fully recovered from the damage. Off-duty Dallas police officer Amber Geiger shot and killed Botham Jean in his own home after entering the wrong apartment. Geiger says she mistook the victim, Botham Jean, for an intruder after finding the door ajar and Botham inside. Dallas PD has since come under fire after executing a police warrant indicating they were looking for drug paraphernalia in Jean's apartment. The family of the victim says the search was an attempt to smear their son's name after the killing and minimize the seriousness of Officer Geiger's actions.
You owe me an apology. You owe me an apology. I have never cheated in my life. I have a daughter and I stand what's right for her and I've never cheated. Answer my question, jerk!
Tennis has had its share of bad boys, but this week all eyes were on Serena Williams following her dispute with umpire Carlos Ramos, who penalized Serena during the finals event of the U.S. Open. The match drew attention to the disparities between how women and men are treated in tennis. Critics are saying women are more likely to be penalized for emotional outbursts and are criticized and penalized for their on-court apparel, where men are given much more leeway. Naomi Osaka went on to win the match. Texas Democrat Beto O'Rourke is within the margin of error for polls in the Senate race against incumbent Senator Ted Cruz. Both candidates have been campaigning aggressively and courting voters throughout the state. CBS CEO Les Moonves has stepped down after being accused of sexual misconduct. Several women have claimed he made unwanted sexual advances and that they were physically assaulted during the 1980s and into the early 2000s. According to an article published September 9th in The New Yorker, Moonves has acknowledged 3 of the encounters but said that they were consensual and happened before joining CBS.
All right. So that's NewsRapper's Delight.
How do you find a picture of Moonves and Weinstein together? Where do you go?
I know. That's our intrepid producer, Danielle Ross, who pulled that one off. That was amazing.
I'd love to know what event that was. What those two cats are talking about.
No, I don't think we want to know what they were talking about.
I think we know what they were talking about.
Yeah, probably.
So out of those stories we just saw, which one do you think has the most impact?
Well, on lives,
or
Hurricane Florence. I mean, I think that's the most important story. Whenever you have people who, whose lives are at risk, there is nothing more important than that. And for Trump to be able to then use that as a launching point to say that the figures that came out about the people that died in the Puerto Rico in Hurricane Maria were stirred up by the Democrats, I mean, just shows what a total idiot he is.
Especially
he's a total idiot.
Especially after he saved all those people by throwing them paper towels. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you get bounty paper towels during a hurricane, everything's going to be fine. Just lay it down in front of the water and you're fine.
And the way through, like like he was throwing a basketball. I mean, just. And the fist bump, when he went to 9/11. I mean, look. Put an idiot in the White House, okay? There's no getting around this.
Idiot, you're going soft. You were using much stronger language a couple of weeks ago.
But, no, that's really not stronger because an idiot should not be in the White House.
I know, but is he just an idiot?
We have had assholes before.
No, Bush Jr. is an idiot.
No,
we've had idiots before.
We've had assholes before, but we haven't had idiots. We haven't had total...
What's Bush Jr.?
Morons.
What's Bush Jr.?
Bush
That guy
Jr.
couldn't find his ass with both hands.
You're probably right. You're probably right about that.
Okay, so...
But he knew it.
All right, I'll give you that.
Here's the thing.
I'll give you that.
He surrounded himself with people who definitely could.
Right.
Okay? So he surrounded himself with, you know, whether we liked what they did or not, that's not the issue. They were professionals. And from Cheney on, they were professionals. I hated what they did, but if you want to have that kind of an administration, you say, look, I don't know a lot, so you tell me. And unfortunately, they did tell him, and we went to war over it because of the advice that he got. But the difference here is that you've got an idiot who doesn't know he's an idiot, who doesn't know what he doesn't know, as Rumsfeld so clearly said. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, and he's a fool. And he won't listen. So when people say something, when people come up to him and say something, and of course, where am I getting this from? I'm getting this from the Woodward book. And I'm about over, I don't know, 130 pages into a 350-page book. But the fact is that people come up to him, and he doesn't say, you know, oh, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I think I should think of it a different way then. Thank you for that information, and thank you for enlightening me.
Well, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
What he will say is, you're wrong.
Right.
And then they'll say, well, why do you believe what you believe? And he won't give an answer. Right. He basically says, I believed it for 30 years, so it must be right.
Or he has a habit of believing the last person he talked to. Well, he might believe this at 1 o'clock, and then somebody at 2 o'clock says something, and he'll toss that out.
That's true, but that's less true in the book than it is someone who simply doesn't believe that anybody knows anything other than him. And when you read the book, it's stunning. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing, some of the things. They'll talk to him about the South Korean missile defense system, and he'll talk about what a bad deal we're getting because the land it's on is lousy. I mean, that's how stupid the man is. We overpaid for that land.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, what is that?
You just can't get around that.
No.
You can't get
we
around
overpaid for that land. And then Gary Cohn, comes in and lays out the economy and how the economy works as if it's a freshman economics class. You know, we have a service sector now, and if you go to a corner like, he actually used a corner on 42nd Street, and he said, it used to be this and this, the Gap, and this, but now it's all service. And Trump says, well, I don't care. I guess you're right, but it doesn't matter. And he says, we have a high trade deficit because the economy's doing well, because we're buying a lot of things, because people are buying a lot of things. No, that can't be true.
Let me ask you this.
I mean, the picture that comes out, but I have to say this before you ask. The one that comes out in this book as absolutely terrifying, more terrifying than Trump, is Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, because he's actually in a meeting with Trump and John McCain talking about what they have to do about North Korea. And he poses it and he says, well, we have to either accept the fact that they're going to have a nuclear weapon, or do everything we can so that they never have a nuclear weapon, and that includes a preemptive strike against North Korea. And McCain sits there, and I've never thought of him as anything other than a hawk, frankly.
Of course.
And McCain sits there and he says, well, it's very complicated, because he said, if you do that, 1 million people could die in Seoul, South Korea. And Lindsey Graham's answer, according to this book, is, well, yeah, but that's over there, not here.
And what is that? What do we call that? And that gives me my perfect segue. What do we call that?
What do we call what?
His response, what is that?
What is it? It's insane, is what it is.
It's white privilege.
Ah.
It's white privilege.
Ah, okay.
You can go kill everybody else.
Yeah.
My one life is worth more than 1,000,000 of theirs. That's what it is, and it's nonchalant, and he really wouldn't care if millions of people there died, as long as he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go there. That's certainly an interpretation, and it's a valid interpretation. I go more toward a place of American exceptionalism, which is probably the same as white privilege.
That's what it is.
But that's where I would go. I mean, maybe he wants to save people of color in this country too.
What?
I don't know.
Let me cut you off. Let me cut you off, and excuse me for doing so.
That's fine.
This whole thing, from Manafort not singing the first time, to going all the way down to these people even thinking they can pull this off. That's exactly what it is. Because they can break any crime, they can trample on everybody else's rights to get what they want whenever they want. That's the very definition.
Well, then we should be also talking about the Amber Geiger story.
And that's my exact point when we move there.
Okay.
So a guy comes home in Dallas. Well, back up to the beginning. A police officer goes into the wrong apartment, according to her. Now, I don't know how the hell you do that. The guy comes home, she shoots and she kills him. Black guy. Guess whose home they served the warrant on?
Whose?
His.
Jeez.
Now, what is that? Now, what could they... To look for drug paraphernalia in his home that he would own. He's coming home. He's the victim. That's the example. That's what this whole thing comes down to. And we could even back it up. I've said it before, you've said it before, and I'll say it right here, right now. If there was 1/1,000,000th of a chance that Barack Obama and his associates did any of this,
he'd be lynched.
Yes. That's exactly the answer.
Yeah.
That's exactly what would happen.
That's right.
To go even further, if he showed up to run with 5 kids by 3 different women and had cheated on each wife with the next, he would have never won the nomination.
No.
And the Dems would have shunned him. So I'm not even talking about a party thing. I'm talking about what the response would be if we break this down to a person of color doing the same thing. That's white privilege. That's how you know. When you measure it that way, and you always go, wow, could a black guy get away with that? That's how it falls into it.
I think that's very true. I just also think we have another problem. It may not be a larger problem, but to me, it's a very, very severe problem, which is what do you do, and forgive my language, but what do you do with a president who's batshit crazy? Because he is. I mean,
well, that's different from him being an idiot a couple of minutes ago.
He's both. He's both. He's quite crazy. The way he sees the world is you know, I guess that's why people voted for him, because they said, oh, he'll do things differently. Well, folks, you got what you wanted.
Well,
he's doing things differently, and he's doing them like a crazy person.
Okay. I'm going to say this. You'll love this. He pulled one over on the American people to get in there.
Yep.
Okay. If the American people don't go out and vote come November, they own it.
Oh, yeah.
Then they have nothing to complain about.
Oh, yeah.
Because at that point, you are saying you are accepting of it.
But let me tell you a story. Yesterday,
Story time with Barry Gordon.
Story time. Yesterday, I happened to go to the same hair person that my wife goes to.
How's that working out?
And it's working out. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, just he's great. And so I was sitting in the chair, having my hair cut, and a woman was sitting next to me in the other chair. And I was chatting with my stylist and telling him about the book that I was reading. And I don't know if she heard me or not, because she was chatting with the person with her stylist, and she was talking about the op-ed in the New York Times. She's a woman. Turned out she introduced herself. She's 74 years old, and nice woman, very nice, educated, bright person, and was saying, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I got to say, Trump was right. There is a deep state.
Okay.
And it was in that article. And Trump's been right all along. And if you got a nice, bright person from Glendale thinking that, this country's in some major trouble.
Well, we're in major trouble because of the fact that he's in there, and there are people who will never, ever lose their support for him.
No.
They will never give it up.
No. And now the good news is that it's waning.
It is.
You know, it's
It is.
dropping, and that's good news, but...
That's actually amazing news.
Yeah.
Because I thought his core base, even we're starting to see chinks, just chinks in that armor.
Yep.
I thought we would never see that. And
Yep.
that, to me, is amazing. Are we about to go to Facebook?
I think in a few seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We're gonna go to Facebook. In fact, I think probably now.
We're doing it now? I hear the drums.
I guess we have to do the closers. So join us on Facebook, and we'll be here for you.
All right, let's do it.
All right. And I guess we should sign off. I'm
right.
Barry Gordon.
And I'm Andre Coleman.
And this has been NewsRap Live at 5.
Let's get to the other studio.
Okay.